When you hear the word autism, what comes to mind? Mental retardation, spiritual problems, name it. Today we'll be talking about autism and the myths and realities around it. Welcome to another wonderful edition of the Ability Conversation Room. And today, I'm not here alone. I'm here with my wonderful wife, Wande Onyema, who happens to be a bilingual therapist, and we'll be going straight into the questions, answering, and I hope you're able to get one or two things out of today's episode. So welcome on board there.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just before we delve into the questions, I would like to apologize. We've been off at least for 1 week. Sorry, we've been cooking, really cooking, and definitely you'll soon see what we've been busy with. So let's get right into the question. Baby, what is autism spectrum disorder?
Okay. Autism spectrum disorder, as we call it, ASD, is a neurological or neurodevelopmental disorder or condition that they interact with the world in a different way due to that condition. So when I say neurodevelopmental or neuro diverse, it has to do with the brain. So that points to the fact that the origin is from the brain.
Okay, so we usually hear things like autism spectrum.
Yes.
Okay, would you want to?
Okay. So autism is a spectrum because that explains the range or the severity. Okay. So it explains the fact that it's not just one particular. It doesn't come out, or it's not expressed in one way. So there are different ways it comes out, either in range or severity. So it could be mild, it could be moderate, it could be severe or profound. And then that doesn't even mean that if a child or if there are two individuals that have autism and they belong to the moderate group, or maybe the autism is moderate, it doesn't mean that they will behave alike. So they could belong to the moderate spectrum of autism and still behave differently, or still interact with others differently, or interact with the world in a different way. So that's what the spectrum is. It means it's not just one. It has different levels. There are different levels, of autism.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about the common myths and realities that come with autism. Are people with autism always non-verbal?
Well, so I have to actually explain the verbal and non-verbal parts for those that don't really understand. So when an individual is a non-verbal individual with autism, that means the person or the child cannot express their thought or feeling in spoken words. So they could express themselves with gestures or body language or facial expression, but they won't be able to express it in spoken words that is audible, right? So that's a better way of explaining non-verbal. And then for the verbal, it's just the opposite. They can express in words, in spoken words, their feelings, their thoughts, or just basically things around them they can identify and say it out. The twist in it is that sometimes the verbal individuals with autism require prompting. Like you may have to ask them something. Do you want this? And they say yes or no. Sometimes if you don't ask, they may not want to say it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So sometimes when you talk about verbal, I know we spoke about this at some point in one of the episodes
Yes.
where we spoke about verbal. Verbal, is it always in words or sometimes it's just in sounds?
So verbal, in this aspect of autism now, right? If you say a verbal, I don't like calling them autistic. We would say the individual before
Okay.
the
Person
condition now.
with-
So a verbal child with autism would be able to speak out. Just say their feelings or thoughts in words, spoken words. They speak actually.
Okay.
So, like your question
I
says
was saying,
something about do they make sounds? They can make
Is
sounds.
it
The
is it verbal?
non-verbal, a child with autism that is non-verbal can make sounds, can cry, can scream,
Okay.
right? But they may not just be able to
Put it in words.
put it in words how they feel. So, to answer your question, not all individuals with autism are non-verbal.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question: Can autism be cured, or it's a lifelong condition?
Okay, so autism is a condition that is believed to be lifelong, right? And can be managed. We can't say it can be cured. It can be managed through early interventions. So when they have gone through the proper therapy, they will be able to live a normal life and then be useful to themselves, to their family members, and the society. So it's a lifelong
Condition that can be managed.
that can be managed.
Very interesting. Okay, so let's come to our local crime.
Okay.
We have people who have said that autism is a spiritual problem. I remember there was once you told me a story, a particular story about this kind of thing. What can you say about it? At least let's enlighten our viewers on this aspect.
Okay, yes. I remember the story I shared with you about, there were two stories actually. One particular one is when the child is steaming. So steaming is self-stimulation. When a child, that can be explained when you find them flapping their hands, making some sounds like repetitive sounds. Okay, I'll give an example. So you see a child in a gathering, either a social gathering or in school, and the child is flapping and making sound like ooh. Sometimes, some people that are not exposed to these things, they start saying things like, this child has a spiritual problem. So a practical example is when I was, I had a colleague then in one school where I worked, and then she would just go like, when the child starts displaying the steaming, she starts saying things like, I rebuke in the name of Jesus. I rebuke that spirit. He will become in Jesus' name. That's because she's ignorant of what is happening. So steaming, for others who don't know, is just a coping mechanism for children who have autism. And it could come through flapping of hands, spinning, making some repetitive sounds, or even jumping up and down, like just pacing back and forth. That's still that's an example of steaming, and it happens because it could be that they are bored, it could be that they have sensory overload, they are feeling uncomfortable, or even feeling sad. It's just a way of expressing their own emotions. So that's
Thank you.
It's not a spiritual problem. It's
Thank
just the way they express their emotions. So let's give it that way.
Thank you for that. But then, in a situation like that,
Yes.
where the child is steaming,
Yes.
like you said, what are the remedies or things that you can do
It depends.
to help the child?
So I would say it depends on the particular manner in which that child is expressing himself. So if the child is flapping, you know that somehow you can keep the hands occupied. So for my client, I know I can if the parent is with the child or a caregiver, get like a sensory ball that has spikes and apply pressure on the hands. So you can put the ball in it and allow the child to press it so hard, or if the child doesn't know what to do with it, put your hand over that child's hand and apply pressure on the ball. Somehow the spikes, stimulates the muscles of the hands, help them to calm, gives them that calming sensation, right? Or, for example, you would have come across some children, or some of us would have come across children who like bite themselves. It's not because they have spiritual problem or they need deliverance. It's just because they have sensory overload. So it could be the oral sensory issue they have. Sometimes get them these chewy toys. There are some chewy toys, babies, when they start teething, they give them this teeter. So we could get them something like that. It will now be the ones that are stronger, so they can bite, they can chew on it. It calms them down after a while. Then we have the ones that jump up and down. If you have trampolines around, or you can, because of them, even get mini trampolines. They can jump on the trampolines. The easy way out, if you don't have that and you see them spinning or they like running around, just somebody can hold
by the hand.
Maybe the father and mother engage that child. Now the father is holding the two hands, the mother is holding the two legs, and you're swinging the child. It looks like play, but these things help to calm them.
I remember there was a time you mentioned wrapping them with the duvet.
Yes, for especially children that are hyperactive, like children on this autism spectrum that are hyperactive, you can calm them with that too. Wrap them in a weighted blanket, or if you have a duvet at home, wrap them in it, and then get the sensory ball, the big one, they call it gym ball or yoga ball. You roll it over them back and forth. It has a calming effect too on them.
Interesting. I think one of the areas where they are misunderstood is when they have this meltdown and all of that. Can you just differentiate between the meltdown and throwing tantrums?
Okay, for the meltdown, now it's common with children who have autism, right? So it's as a result of sensory overload too. So there's a particular, there are some children that they take to social gathering and they start shouting and crying. They just don't want to be there. So there are things that these things are related to. It could be because of when we say sensory overload, it involves the senses. It could be that the sound of the social gathering is too much for them to handle, and then you see them covering their ears and crying and screaming. You just know that that's meltdown. So it could be that they don't like, they're not comfortable with the number of people there. They don't like crowd, and it could be that the noise is too much. And then for those of them who probably just look like they are scratching their body, it could be because the texture of the clothes they are wearing is uncomfortable. It could be that the texture is not comfortable. So you see them crying and just rolling on the floor. You just know that that's meltdown because of the sensory overload. So it depends on, it could be sensory overload from the skin or the sound, auditory, because of the sound, right?
And then it goes for all the other senses.
For other senses too. It could be that strong light is coming in, they keep covering the eyes like this, and then you are not even sensitive to see that the child is not comfortable with something. Right? So meltdown, you just know that it's not something they do intentionally. It's as a result of sensory overload. While for tantrum, you know that it's as a result of a child wanting something. So you know that it's deliberate. They actually want something by all means. Okay, give an example. A child, let's give an example. Let's say a child was using the tablet and then after a while you want to take the tablet and give food to that child. You are doing something good to that child, but the child wants the tablet at that time, so they can throw a tantrum. So that's a tantrum. You just know it's not sensory overload. It's just because they want something at that time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So with all of this
Yes.
you've pointed out, and the symptoms and signs we see,
Yes.
what therapies would you recommend for such case?
Well, generally, we have the speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and so on, right?
Yeah.
But I think it can't be determined until they've done the proper diagnosis and they've done the assessment and they've seen that these are the things this child is presenting. Or this child needs support in occupational therapy. Maybe the child cannot hold certain
Objects,
things,
well.
right? Which will help other parts of the fine motor skills, not just holding, in writing and in some other, and even in feeding, right? And if somehow they've noticed that it is auditory, it has to do with the ears, that this child is always covering his ears when he's either outside or even inside in the house. You just know that the child has issues with auditory, right? And may need support with maybe noise cancelling headsets, and then you can help to like reduce the volumes of maybe sound system in the house, or you take them to the worship center and then you see that they're always covering their ears. It could be that the sound is too much for them, so they'll need noise cancelling headset for that. That's just one of the many different interventions we could use. So for those that have issues with speaking that has been highlighted in their assessment report, you know that they need speech therapy, right?
Yes. So we keep hearing of inclusion,
Okay.
and of course, children like this will definitely be found in schools and
Yes.
and in some other social gatherings and things like that. But we're talking about schools now. What are those inclusive practices you think schools should have in order to have them included in whatever they do?
Okay, so I feel that any school that claims to be inclusive would actually be inclusive in everything, would include the children with special needs in every aspect of the school activities, right? The sports, in classrooms, in competitions, either sports or music, dance, whatever, involve them, include them in it, right? It means that you're actually truly inclusive. And getting materials that they need to function well. You're not just getting the textbooks and the writing materials for the school, but you're going all out to get the devices that would help them, yes, and aid them in learning, because some of them need these devices to help them. So you don't just say you're an inclusive school and you don't have these devices or these materials that will help them to cope in the school, instead of segregating them. Because I noticed that some schools say they are inclusive, but they still segregate these children that have needs. So did I answer your question?
You did justice to that. And so I know that it's always on the minds of parents.
Yes.
Seeing an autistic child from birth,
Yes.
the first thing that comes to mind is whether they could make success out of
their
life,
lives. Wow.
or whether they could do. Can you share one example or just speak to parents concerning children with autism?
So because I believe that children are unique in their own ways, right? You find children, I believe that every child has a skill, right? So I would use a practical example. One of the videos we did some time ago about a boy who discovered his skill in playing the piano, and he was self-taught, and the father discovered that this boy could play the piano. I think they had it in the basement of the house. He could play the piano. He taught himself how to play it. He could identify the keys. And then when somebody plays a key, even while closing his eyes, he could like actually say, this is the key you are playing on. That's a very unique skill. And then the father went ahead by engaging someone that could teach him. And that was how. And by now, this child is already, traveling all over the places, doing concerts. They invite him for concerts and musical shows. He's getting paid, right? Heavily paid. That's Kofi.
Yeah.
Jude Kofi.
Jude Kofi, yeah.
A Ghanaian Nigerian. I think he's British born
or American born or something like that. Okay. And I also remember.
And then, Kanye Chukwu.
Yeah.
He's a Nigerian. And he has a record with Guinness Book of Record as the largest painting, something like that. Largest painting, yes. He's an artist. So imagine that boy too. It's useful to himself, to his family, to the society. So I don't believe that any child with autism can be useful. It's just for us to discover the skill and work on it.
Nice one.
Yes.
From what you just said now,
yes.
The first thing that jumped at me is early intervention.
Yes.
So the ability to recognize the strength of the child.
Yes.
And then help the child harness it to the point that he can become a global spectacle.
Yes.
Is one secret to get in there.
Yes.
Okay. So we've said a lot.
Yes.
And we've come to the end of the show. But before we go, do you have any special words to everyone as regarding autism?
Okay, what I would just say is the fact that they shouldn't. So I've discovered that some parents that are not exposed, they lock the children in the house. They get a caregiver, and then to take care of the child's needs, and then they lock the child at home. They don't even do any intervention or bother to see if the child would, be able to learn skills. They don't allow the child to mingle with people. So I feel that is wrong. They should allow these children to go out,
to
interact with other children, even use that opportunity to educate children that look at them in funny ways, like what's this child doing? Why is he shaking? Why is he moving his hands like this? And then the parents can educate that child and say, oh, this child is having a sensory overload. This is the issue, and so he does this to cope with the environment. So I feel parents should do more research, educate themselves, and also take these children and do the early intervention so that the children can be useful to themselves, the family members, and the society.
Very, very important. One of the major reasons we have the Ability Conversation Room is to break the myth and present the facts so that you get to understand this set of people properly, to the point that we are able to create that inclusive society that will bring the required result. That's how far we are going to go for this particular episode. And I hope we've learned one or two things. We are open to your questions and answers. We are open to your comments. And also, you could also put out there what you want to know more about persons with disability. With this, we say, please comment, like, and share. Until next week, we say,
bye.